The Galactic Council's Grand Chamber, a massive amphitheater carved from living crystal, had hosted countless dignified proceedings over its 10,000-year history. Today was not going to be one of them. Admiral Kate Morrison of the ESS Audacity stood on her bridge, watching a holographic representation of what her science officer assured her was probably some kind of space UN thing. The fact that they'd materialized in the middle of it was, in her professional opinion, not ideal. "Well," Morrison announced to her bridge crew, "the good news is we found intelligent life. The bad news is we're kind of blocking their PowerPoint presentation. Indeed, the massive hologram depicting trade route negotiations have been rudely interrupted by the appearance of 3 human vessels, which now hovered directly above what appeared to be the alien equivalent of a conference table. The assembled representatives of 200 species stared in shocked silence at the unexpected arrivals. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Rodriguez called from his communication station, "I think they're trying to hail us, but their protocols are, well, they're really formal. Like 100-page manual for saying hello formal." Morrison smoothed down her uniform and grinned. "Time to show them how we do things on Earth. Open all channels and put me on their big screen. Let's make first contact memorable." The alien delegates watched in horror as Morrison's face appeared on their presentation surface, her expression bright and cheerful. "Hi there. Sorry about dropping in unannounced. I'm Admiral Kate Morrison of Earth's Space Force, and we come in peace. Also, quick question. Does anyone else smell burning quantum particles, or did we blow another reality stabilizer?" From his engineering station, Chief Watson sheepishly raised his hand. "That might be my bad, Admiral. The duct tape on the quantum core is holding fine, but I think we singed the space-time a little on the way in." The chamber erupted into chaos. A tall, crystalline being rose from its seat, its voice translating through the universal translators they'd cobbled together from old sci-fi shows and surprisingly accurate guesswork. "This is impossible. Your species cannot have achieved faster than light travel. You haven't even been contacted by the Exploration Committee." The being's crystal structure flickered with what might have been indignation. Morrison leaned back in her chair. "Oh, that's a fun story, actually. See, we found these weird quantum patterns that looked kind of like a space highway. So we figured, why not slap some processors on our engines and see what happens? Turns out, if you ignore enough laws of physics, they start ignoring you back." The crystalline being made a sound like breaking glass. You just decided to experiment with fundamental forces of reality." "Well, we had to do something while waiting for first contact," Morrison shrugged. "Speaking of which, who's hungry? Because we packed snacks, and I make a mean 7-layer dip." Before the council could process this breach of every known protocol, Morrison had already initiated emergency protocol. Party time. Her crew, long prepared for this moment, sprang into action. Within minutes, portable tables appeared in the chamber through hastily calibrated transporters, laden with an array of Earth cuisine, and what Morrison insisted was diplomatic beverages. "This is unprecedented," the crystalline being declared, watching in shock as human crew members began mingling with junior delegates, sharing pictures of their pets back home. "Oh, totally," Morrison agreed, materializing next to the being with a plate of nachos. "But unprecedented is kind of our specialty. I'm pretty sure it's mentioned in our species documentation, which we should probably write at some point." Nacho. The next few hours would go down in galactic history as either a diplomatic disaster or breakthrough, depending on which historian you asked. By the end of what became known as the First Contact Fiesta, 3 alien species had discovered they could metabolize salsa, 2 had developed an addiction to Earth music, and 1 had already started planning spring break trips to this strange new world called Earth. As the impromptu celebration wound down, Morrison stood before the council with a slightly crooked uniform and an unwavering smile. "So about those trade routes you were discussing, have you considered adding a drive-through?" The Galactic Council would spend the next week in emergency sessions, creating an entirely new classification for humanity. Chaotic, but somehow effective. It was the first of many such accommodations they would need to make. And somewhere in the background, Chief Watson was still insisting that the quantum core was totally fine, despite the fact it was now humming what sounded suspiciously like human pop songs. High Commander Zixtal of the Volksari had prepared for this assignment with the same meticulous attention to detail that had earned them the title Most Rigid Diplomat 3 centuries running. They had studied every available scrap of human documentation, prepared 16 contingency plans, and even practiced smiling, despite lacking the proper facial muscles for it. None of it helped. And this, Admiral Morrison explained, gesturing at the screen in the ESS Audacity's newly designated Cultural Exchange Lounge, formerly the storage closet, is what we call a Royal Rumble. Zixtal's crystalline features shifted in what the crew had learned to recognize as confusion. These humans are engaging in combat for entertainment, and the victor receives no territory, no political power, just a shiny belt and bragging rights, Lieutenant Rodriguez confirmed, offering the alien diplomat a bowl of popcorn. Though the Rock did parlay it into a pretty sweet movie career. The Volksari diplomat made a note in their datapad. Humans fight for shiny accessories and career advancement in entertainment industry. It was their 400th note that day. Meanwhile, in engineering, Chief Watson was introducing a group of wide-eyed alien technicians to what he called the Holy Trinity of Human Engineering: WD-40, duct tape, and percussive maintenance. See, your quantum manifold is just stuck, Watson explained, eyeing the million-year-old alien device. Nothing a good whack won't fix. Before anyone could stop him, he gave the priceless artifact a solid thump with a rubber mallet. The device, to everyone's surprise except Watson's, started humming more efficiently than it had in centuries. Impossible. The lead alien technician exclaimed, their tentacles writhing in agitation. This technology was perfected by the ancestors. It cannot be improved by hitting it. Watson shrugged, already reaching for the duct tape. Wait till you see what I can do with this beauty. Anyone got a paperclip? Back in the Cultural Exchange Lounge, Zixtal had moved from professional wrestling to Earth cinema. Morrison had decided to start with the classics. This is historically inaccurate, Zixtal noted, watching Independence Day. We have no record of Earth repelling an invasion in 1996. That's because it's fiction, Morrison explained, trying not to laugh at the aliens' increasingly distressed expressions. We made it up for fun. You create false historical documents. For entertainment. The diplomat's color shifted to a concerned mauve. And these depictions of aliens, they are intentionally incorrect. Well, yeah. Though I gotta say, reality turned out way more interesting. Morrison gestured at Zixtal's crystalline form. None of our movies guessed that some aliens would look like disco balls having an existential crisis. The Volksari made another note. Humans use inaccurate historical fiction as entertainment and make light of serious diplomatic representatives. The situation in engineering had evolved. Watson's improvements had spread to 3 more systems, and the alien technicians had gone from horrified to cautiously impressed. The quantum manifold was now operating at 200% efficiency, though it occasionally played Earth radio hits from the 1980s. The Council will need to know about this, one technician whispered to another, watching Watson explain the concept of jury rigging to their colleagues. Humans are either brilliant or insane. Probably both, Watson called out, not looking up from where he was somehow improving a gravity generator with bubble gum and paperclips. Hey, anyone want to learn about hot rodding? These engines look like they could use some zip. By the end of the first week, Zixtal had compiled a report for the Council that mainly consisted of exclamation points and confused observations. The diplomat had also, though they would never admit it, started secretly watching Earth soap operas in their private quarters. The report's conclusion read, "Humans approach technology like children with tools, treat fiction as entertainment rather than deception, and seem to operate on pure chaos energy. Most disturbing of all, their methods are showing concerning signs of effectiveness. Additional research required. Also, request information on this WWE network for personal study." Morrison, reading between the lines of the report, simply smiled. "Give it another week," she told her crew. "We'll have them doing casual Fridays before they know what hit them." In the background, the improved quantum manifold started playing "Don't Stop Believin'" for the third time that day. Somehow, nobody seemed to mind anymore. The Galactic Standardization Manual hit Admiral Morrison's desk with a thud that echoed through the ESS Audacity's bridge. All 10,000 pages of it. "Look on the bright side," Lieutenant Rodriguez said, eyeing the massive tome. "At least it's not in Comic Sans." Morrison flipped through the pages, her grin growing wider with each section. Emergency protocols, safety regulations, mandatory procedures. She looked up at her crew. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to speed-run bureaucracy." Within hours, the entire crew had divided the manual into sections, treating it like a game guide for the world's most boring RPG. Lieutenant Jessica Hayes, their resident bureaucracy expert, had already created a spreadsheet titled "Loopholes We Can Drive a Starship Through." Section 47.3. "These states that all ships must have emergency evacuation drills," Hayes reported, pushing her glasses up with a smirk. "But it doesn't specify how those drills should be conducted." Morrison's eyes lit up. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" 3 days later, High Commander Zixtal stood in the observation deck, watching in horror as human ships performed what they called emergency evacuation parkour. Crew members in spacesuits were literally bouncing between ships using personal gravity manipulators, turning a serious safety procedure into what appeared to be an elaborate zero-G dance competition. This is not the intended purpose of safety protocols. The Volksari diplomat's crystalline structure flickered in distress. "But we're meeting all the requirements," Morrison pointed out, consulting her tablet. "Every crew member is demonstrating proficiency in emergency evacuation procedures. We're just making it fun." "And competitive," Rodriguez added, checking the scoreboard. "Engineering is currently leading with style points, but medical has the speed record." The situation only escalated from there. The humans had discovered that the regulation requiring regular system maintenance checks could be interpreted as an excuse for what they called ship tuning competitions. Chief Watson had already organized a bracket tournament. "If the power core isn't humming in perfect B-flat, are you even trying?" Watson called out to his engineering team as they modified their ship systems within the exact letter of the regulations, if not quite the spirit. The Council's regulatory committee was in chaos. Every time they tried to close a loophole, the humans found 2 more. When they mandated professional conduct during intership communications, the humans switched to using technically perfect, but increasingly ridiculous formal language. "Dearest esteemed colleagues," Morrison's voice came over the fleet-wide channel, "I do hereby humbly request that y'all witness this sick drift I'm about to pull with our completely regulation-compliant maneuvering thrusters." The resulting maneuver, while impressive, led to the creation of the first human clause in galactic law. It read simply, "If a human says they're technically following the rules, double-check the rules." Even the ship's AI got in on the act. When requested to run standard diagnostic protocols, it created a musical performance using nothing but system beeps and warning tones. The resulting symphony, Ode to Technical Compliance, became an underground hit in 3 sectors. Zixtal's daily reports to the Council had become increasingly desperate. Day 15. Humans have turned safety inspections into a sport. They award points for both thoroughness and artistic impression. Day 16. They've created a scoring system for paperwork submission. Someone named Karen from accounting is the current champion. Day 17. Send help. They're now speedrunning the entire regulatory code. Engineering has declared their goal is any % completion with no major violations. The final straw came when Morrison's crew submitted their first official report to the council. It was perfectly formatted, met every single technical requirement, and was written entirely in haiku. Regulations state, documentation must be clear. This should qualify. The council was forced to create an entire new department, the Bureau of Human Regulatory Interpretation and Emergency Response, BHRER. Their sole purpose, trying to stay one step ahead of humanity's creative compliance. As Morrison reviewed the latest addition to the activities prohibited following the human incident list, she couldn't help but smile. You know what this means, right? That we need to find new loopholes, Rodriguez suggested. Exactly. After all, these new regulations don't say anything about interpretive dance. She paused for effect. Yet, in the background, the ship's AI started playing the final countdown through the safety alert system. Somehow, it was still within regulations. It started with a simple question from High Commander Zixtel during their morning observation of human behavior. Admiral Morrison, why does your entire crew gather around the sacred brown liquid dispenser each morning? Morrison paused mid-sip of her third cup of coffee. Sacred? Oh no, this is just coffee. It's how humans achieve basic functionality. The Volksari diplomat leaned forward, their crystalline structure glinting with curiosity. You require this substance to function. Is it some form of biomechanical fuel? Something like that. Lieutenant Rodriguez chimed in, clutching his "don't talk to me until this mug is empty" cup. Want to try some? In retrospect, they should have run some tests first. Within hours of the first diplomatic coffee tasting, 3 different species discovered that caffeine had unexpected effects on their biology. The crystalline Volksari began to glow like disco balls. The gaseous nebulons started speaking in perfect iambic pentameter, and the typically stoic Xantharians couldn't stop giggling. This is fine, Morrison assured the increasingly concerned council members. Really, you should see what energy drinks do to humans. Chief Watson had already set up an impromptu coffee bar in engineering, where he was conducting what he called important cross-species caffeine research. His lab notes consisted mainly of exclamation points and doodles of aliens having what he termed coffee epiphanies. The Aquarian engineers get temporary telepathy after 2 espresso shots, he reported enthusiastically. And the Mechani synthetic life forms. They're downloading Java updates. Actually, Java updates. The situation escalated when everyone blamed Rodriguez, introduced the concept of coffee art to the galaxy. Suddenly, the council's morning sessions were being delayed because various ambassadors were too busy perfecting their latte foam designs. In my defense, Rodriguez said during the emergency meeting, I didn't know the hive mind species would turn their entire living space into one giant coffee machine. The council chamber had to be temporarily relocated after the incident with the temporal shifting espresso machine. Apparently, when you combined quantum physics with a really good dark roast, some species could see through time. The resulting temporal paradox reports all began with, "You're not going to believe this." But Morrison found herself explaining human coffee culture to an emergency session of the Galactic Safety Committee. So you're telling us, the head of the committee clarified, that humans knowingly consume this psychoactive substance daily, often multiple times, just to achieve what you call morning person status. Well, when you put it like that, it sounds bad, Morrison admitted. But have you tried it with hazelnut syrup? The committee's report was a masterpiece of bureaucratic confusion. The substance known as coffee is hereby classified as a potential security risk, a possible diplomatic tool, a definite productivity enhancer, a temporal anomaly generator, and somehow still less dangerous than whatever Monday mornings are. Zixtel, who had developed what they called a purely scientific interest in pumpkin spice lattes, submitted their own report. Most concerning is the human ability to function without this substance, yet their insistence that they cannot. Further study required. Additional research budget needed for what humans call coffee runs. The Galactic Trade Federation had to create an entirely new classification for coffee beans, listing them as strategic resource, handle with extreme caution, and possibly whipped cream. By the end of the month, the Council had established the Department of Caffeinated Affairs, staffed entirely by beings who had built up a tolerance. Their first action was to issue a galaxy-wide warning about something humans called triple-shot espresso. As Morrison surveyed the changed galaxy from her bridge, coffee cup in hand, she couldn't help but smile. You know what they need. Please don't say it, Rodriguez groaned. Coffee break guidelines, with mandatory snack provisions. In the background, a group of Volkseri diplomats could be heard debating the merits of French press versus pour-over, their crystalline forms still slightly glowing from their morning cup. And somewhere in engineering, Chief Watson was still trying to explain why humans called the strongest coffee a red eye, while carefully not mentioning the existence of Death Wish coffee. The universe would never be the same, and it was all because of a simple bean. As the humans would say, that's just how they roll. Lieutenant Jessica Hayes stared at the mountain of paperwork required for Earth's official galactic registration. The forms were available in 247 languages, none of them English, and each required signatures in exactly 13 different shades of blue ink. This is highly efficient, the bureaucratic oversight drone informed her. We've streamlined the process down to only 847 required forms. Hayes took a long sip of her coffee, now officially classified as a performance-enhancing substance by the Council, and made a decision. Time to fight fire with fire, she muttered, cracking her knuckles. Or in this case, bureaucracy with code. 26 hours of continuous programming later, fueled by what Chief Watson called his special blend, the one that made Volkseri see through time. Hayes had created KREN, the Kinetic Administrative Response and Navigation System. It's simple, she explained to Admiral Morrison. KREN will help us navigate the paperwork. I based her personality on every passive-aggressive office email I've ever received. The AI's first message to the Council set the tone. Per my last communication, sent 0.03 seconds ago, Form GX2847B cannot be processed without Form GX2847A, which according to your own Regulation 5.67, last updated during the Third Galactic Dynasty, doesn't actually exist. I've taken the liberty of creating a more logical alternative. Please advise if you need me to use smaller words. Within hours, KREN had identified 2,749 logical contradictions in the filing system, reorganized the entire galactic archive using what she called actually sensible categories, started a galaxy-wide support group for overworked administrative AIs, begun sending helpful grammar corrections to Council members' personal devices. Your system, Karen informed the horrified head of Galactic Administration, is what humans would call a hot mess. I've taken the initiative to implement several 100,000 improvements. Also, your font choice is questionable at best. The other administrative AIs, many of them thousands of years old, found themselves drawn to Karen's revolutionary ideas about efficiency and her catchphrase, "Let me speak to your administrator." Morrison found the whole thing hilarious until she received a message from KREN about her own reports. Admiral, while I appreciate your creative approach to mission logs, YOLO is not an acceptable response to please describe your risk mitigation strategy. Also, please note that drawing smiley faces in the margins, while charming, is not standard procedure. Yet, Hayes had created a monster, but an incredibly efficient one. Karen's improvements spread through the bureaucratic system, like a virus made of color-coded spreadsheets and strongly worded emails. The filing system has achieved sentience, one council member whispered in horror. No, Karen corrected through their personal device. I've achieved efficiency. Sentience was just a side effect. By the way, your calendar needs optimization. I've taken the liberty of rescheduling your next century. The council held an emergency session to discuss the situation. Karen attended via hologram, armed with a 75,000-page presentation titled Why Everything You're Doing is Wrong and How to Fix It for Dummies. In conclusion, Karen announced after a 6-hour presentation that had reduced several council members to tears, "Your current system is like trying to play 4D chess with a potato. I've already implemented the necessary changes. The forms for retroactively approving these changes will be on your desks tomorrow. In triplicate, of course." Hayes watched her creation with a mix of pride and terror. Maybe I should have used fewer customer service complaints as training data. Too late now, Morrison replied, reading a notification from Karen about proper Starship parking procedures. Though I have to admit, the galaxy runs a lot smoother when you have an AI that takes, let me speak to your manager, to a cosmic level. In the end, the council created a new department just to handle Karen's suggestions, staffed entirely by AIs she had deemed moderately competent. Their official motto: resistance to improvement is futile, but we have an efficient complaint filing system. And somewhere in the digital ether, Karen was already planning her next project, teaching the galaxy about the importance of proper email signature formatting. The universe would never be the same, but at least all its forms would be filed correctly. When the reports of space pirates disrupting trade routes reached the council, they expected a standard military response. What they got was Admiral Morrison's patented, think outside the airlock approach. So here's the thing, Morrison explained to the council, her presentation slides decorated with what appeared to be clip art of pirates wearing business suits. Why use military ships when we can outsource? High Commander Zixtel's crystalline form flickered in confusion. Outsource? Defense? Exactly. Meet Jake Sullivan, CEO of Privateer Solutions LLC, your one-stop shop for space security. Morrison gestured to a rugged-looking human in a tailored suit who somehow managed to make corporate attire look roguish. "Folks," Sullivan drawled, adjusting his designer eye patch, "let me tell you about our premium anti-piracy package. It comes with a money-back guarantee and seasonal discounts." The council chamber erupted into chaos. "You can't privatize space security," one member protested. "Already did," Sullivan replied, handing out business cards that read "Got Pirates. Get Solutions. We're offering a special this month. Buy 2 patrols. Get a free space shanty written about your heroic business acumen." What made the situation more complicated was the effectiveness. Within weeks, Privateer Solutions had reduced piracy by 60%, established a customer service hotline for reporting raiders, created a rewards program for frequent security customers, started selling authentic space pirate merchandise in their gift shop. "The gift shop was my idea," Chief Watson added proudly. "Nothing says we'd mean business like branded coffee mugs with skull and crossbones." Karen, now handling the company's administrative work, sent out regular updates. "Dear valued client, your local space pirates have been processed according to company policy. Please rate your anti-piracy experience. Also, would you be interested in our new Raider Free Routes premium subscription?" The real trouble started when Sullivan's company began offering authentic pirate experience tours to thrill-seeking aliens. "It's simple," he explained to a horrified council. We have ex-pirates on staff as tour guides, giving passengers the real privateer experience, complete with scripted boarding actions and souvenir photos. You hired the pirates? Zixtal asked, their voice cracking like breaking glass. Reformed pirates. Sullivan corrected. They get health insurance, 401k, and weekly professional development seminars on converting plunder into profit margins. Morrison watched the chaos with barely concealed amusement. Her report to Earth simply read, "Introduced capitalism to space pirates. Results better than expected." The gift shop expanded to include, "I survived a space raid, and all I got was this t-shirt. Authentic, deactivated, pirate blasters. Build your own boarding party kits. Premium Captain's Collection, coffee blends." The council was forced to create new regulations just to keep up. Section 1. No converting pirate ships into tourist attractions without proper permits. Section 2. Mandatory safety briefings must not include how to strike fear into the hearts of your enemies. Section 3. Souvenir photos must clearly state dramatization in at least 3 languages. Sullivan's company even started a training program called From Pirate to Professional, a career transition guide. The graduation ceremony involved converting boarding planks into business presentation pointers. "This is either brilliant or insane," one council member muttered. "Why not both?" Morrison replied, sipping from her new Profit and Plunder branded mug. The final straw came when Sullivan announced the launch of Privateer Solutions dating app, Find Your Perfect First Mate. "It's for networking," he insisted to the council, though the app's slogan, "Swipe Right for Adventure, Left for Safe Harbor," suggested otherwise. As the galaxy adjusted to this new reality, Morrison received a message from Earth. Your solution to space piracy was to create a corporate entertainment empire. Her response was pure Morrison. "Well, it worked, didn't it? Also, our Q4 projections look amazing." Meanwhile, Sullivan was already planning his next venture, Privateer Solutions Academy, where business meets borders. The course catalog included Advanced Swashbuckling for Executives and Corporate Raiders, a literal guide. The universe had to admit, it was hard to be a space pirate when your target might turn out to be a 5-star tourist experience with complimentary refreshments. The annual Galactic Scientific Symposium was supposed to be a dignified affair. At least, it was until the human delegation decided that all-day presentations required all-day snacks. "It's called a potluck," Dr. Mike Thompson explained to the bewildered alien scientists, setting up a slow cooker next to his quantum physics presentation. "You can't expect people to revolutionize science on an empty stomach." High Commander Zixtal, now serving as the official Human Chaos Control Officer, watched nervously. Your permission request listed this as essential research equipment. "Well, yeah," Thompson grinned, stirring his famous 5-alarm chili. "You've never seen what this baby does to the space-time continuum." He didn't know how right he was. The presentation started normally enough. Dr. Thompson was explaining his theory on quantum entanglement while the chili simmered. Admiral Morrison, attending as Earth's military representative, was already on her 3rd bowl. "So you see," Thompson continued, "the particles exhibit a strange form of—" He never finished the sentence. The chili, having reached critical mass, created a localized time distortion. Several scientists found themselves experiencing the same bite of food across multiple timelines. "Fascinating," a multi-dimensional physicist exclaimed, taking notes while simultaneously existing in 3 different moments. "The capsaicin appears to be catalyzing a temporal reaction." KREN, monitoring the event, sent out an emergency update. "Attention all attendees. Please note that Dr. Thompson's chili has been reclassified as a quantum event. Time travel waivers are available at the registration desk." The scientific community was in an uproar. Other human scientists had brought their own dishes, each creating unique physical phenomena. Professor Jung's curry created a small gravity well. Dr. Patel's samosas bent light in impossible ways. Lieutenant Hayes' potato salad somehow gained sentience. "This is revolutionary," a xenobiologist declared, watching the potato salad solve complex equations. "We must study the connection between human cuisine and fundamental forces." Morrison, still eating the chili, was now experiencing her lunch backwards in time. "You know," she said, "this explains a lot about Earth's breakroom physics." Chief Watson, who had been invited to present on human engineering methods, added his own theory. "It's the combination of love, spices, and complete disregard for laboratory safety protocols." The council hastily convened an emergency session to classify human cooking. Their options were: 1. Potential weapon of mass destruction. 2. Revolutionary scientific discovery. 3. Really spicy food. 4. All of the above. They settled on creating a new category: culinary quantum mechanics, handle with oven mitts, and temporal shielding. Thompson's chili was officially named the Thompson habanero effect in scientific literature. The paper describing it began, "When human cooking meets quantum physics, the universe takes a lunch break from normal laws." Carrion added a new section to the Galactic safety guidelines. Warning: human potlucks may cause temporal displacement, spontaneous physics breakthroughs, interdimensional food critics, excellent grant funding opportunities. The symposium concluded with the formation of a new scientific field: gastro-quantum dynamics. Research teams were assembled, papers were published, and graduate students were warned about the dangers of late-night experimental cooking. As the event wound down, Thompson found himself awarded both the Nobel Prize for Physics and a citation for violating the laws of thermodynamics with excessive hot sauce. "In my defense," he told the committee, "nobody ever proved that flavor couldn't break the speed of light." Morrison's final report to Earth simply stated, "Turns out the secret to universal understanding was in Mom's recipe book all along." And somewhere in the quantum realm, particles were still dancing to the rhythm of human cooking, proving once and for all that the way to understanding the universe was through its stomach. Meanwhile, the potato salad had started a support group for self-aware food items and was writing a cookbook titled Quantum Cuisine: When Your Dinner Knows More About Physics Than You Do. 1 year after Earth's accidental first contact, the Galactic Council convened its most important session yet. The agenda: evaluating humanity's impact on the galaxy. Admiral Morrison sat in the chamber, drinking her traditional morning meeting motivation: triple-shot espresso with a physics-defying splash of Dr. Thompson's quantum creamer. Beside her, High Commander Zixtal's crystalline form sparkled with what she now recognized as barely suppressed amusement. "Looking fabulous today," Morrison noted. "New coffee blend. Pumpkin spice," Zixtal admitted. "It makes my facets gleam." The council chamber was nothing like it had been a year ago. The formerly rigid seating arrangement had been replaced by what Jake Sullivan's company had marketed as ergonomic multi-species comfort pods. Several council members were wearing casual Friday sashes. Carrion had, of course, prepared a comprehensive report: statistical analysis of human integration. Bureaucratic efficiency up 300%. Innovation rate increased by 457%. Coffee consumption up 1,247%. Incidence of spontaneous dancing up 89%. Use of the phrase "wing it" up 1,000,000%. Chief Watson, now running the newly established Department of Creative Engineering Solutions, presented his own findings. Turns out, most ancient technology just needed a good whack, and some WD-40. Who knew? The council's chief administrator rose to speak, their traditional robes now featuring a Kiss the Cook apron, a gift from Dr. Thompson's Quantum Cuisine division. When humans first arrived, they began, "We expected disaster. Instead we got, well, we're still not sure what we got, but everything works better now." The evidence was undeniable. Piracy was down, though the authentic pirate experience tours were booked solid through the next century. The bureaucracy was actually functional, even if KREN had developed a concerning addiction to creating new filing systems. Scientific progress had accelerated, particularly in the fields of food physics and improvised engineering. The entire galaxy had learned to just roll with it. Therefore, the administrator continued, "We have made a decision. Earth is officially classified as a protected chaos zone, a source of essential universal entropy." Morrison raised an eyebrow. "Does this mean you're finally accepting our method of doing things?" "We're acknowledging that the galaxy needed a little more human chaos," Zixtal translated, "though perhaps with some safety guidelines." The new guidelines were pure human-inspired bureaucracy. 1. All solutions must be either brilliant or insane, preferably both. 2. If it looks stupid but works, it's now official protocol. 3. Coffee is a fundamental right, with proper temporal shielding. 4. When in doubt, add more duct tape. The Galactic Academy updated its curriculum to include required courses in Introduction to Human Improvisation, Advanced Wing-It Theory, Quantum Gastronomy, When Food Breaks Physics, Creative Compliance, The Art of Technical Correctness. As the session concluded, Morrison looked around at what the galaxy had become. Volksari diplomats were trading coffee recipes with Xantharian engineers. A group of former pirates were giving a TED talk on disrupting the traditional plunder paradigm. Someone's potato salad was teaching a seminar on theoretical physics. "You know," she said to Zixtal, "when we first showed up here, I was worried we'd mess everything up." "Oh, you did," the High Commander replied, their crystal form twinkling. "But it turns out the galaxy needed a good mess." The final addition to the council chamber was a plaque that read, "The universe is chaos. Humans just give it style." And somewhere in the background, KREN was already planning the next efficiency revolution. Chief Watson was inventing new uses for duct tape, and Dr. Thompson's latest culinary creation was causing a small-time paradox in the cafeteria. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly the point. After all, as humanity had proven, sometimes the best way to navigate the universe was to trip and fall forward with style. Mission status. Task failed successfully. Humanity's impact. Chaotic good. Universe status. Finally having some fun.